Hello and welcome to Team Liquid's strategy guide series for Liberation of Undermine. I'm Eiya, and today I'll be breaking down the mechanics and strategy for the one-armed bandit. There are two very important mythic changes to this encounter. The first is that the real assistants spawn with armor that prevents them from being damaged below 20% health until they are hit by a coin. The second is that a random ranged player will be chosen to drop another big hit puddle each time the mechanic resolves on the tank. Unfortunately, Blizzard decided to completely obscure the debuff that indicates you will place a puddle entirely from the game. As a result, you'll need to look at your character to see whether or not you receive the indicator that you will place a puddle. To combat this, you'll need to emphasize the big hit timer itself through either weak auras or a boss mod, and be prepared to receive the mechanic on every cast. The reward combinations we receive will be static. 1. Coin and shock. 2. Coin and bomb. 3. Flame and bomb. 4. Flame and coin. 5. Shock and bomb. 6. Shock and flame. As a result of our reward ordering, we will acquire the premium currency coil after the first set of ads, and our tank will be activating it shortly before every ad set. Every extra activation causes the two nearest big hit puddles to be removed. This creates a dynamic where we want to heavily prioritize the left side of the arena for big hit placement, as poorly placed puddles will be removed. Poorly placed big hit puddles on the right side of the arena are extremely unlikely to be removed and likely will remain for the entire encounter. To combat this, pre-positioning should be favored towards the left side of the arena, and gateway should be placed to the right side of the arena if you only have access to one. Note now that smooth progression and consistency on this encounter entirely comes down to ad damage, as you should easily push the boss to 30% before he phases on time. It's important to emphasize ad damage over everything as you are progressing the fight for multiple reasons. 1. The more quickly ads die, the lower the raid damage and dispel casts from real assistance. 2. Less wipes to not acquiring the reward coin in time to prevent fraud detected. 3. The less overlap you have with the traveling flames from the flame and bomb ads. 4. Decreased downtime from movement forced by the CC immune coin and bomb ads. To this end, players should be single targeting these ads down at almost all times, while melee might leave the boss early on certain sets and add spawns to ensure cleanliness. There are 3 main reasons why this encounter will likely remain challenging through potential nerfs. Traveling flames is a difficult mechanic, and it requires extreme vigilance and paying attention to your character. Coins are being rolled from behind you, naturally a difficult angle for most players to notice. Having no way to identify you have been targeted to place a big hit puddle outside of the circular indicator makes the mechanic incredibly challenging, especially for lower movement specs like Shadow Priests, which is a spec you'd ideally have a few of for this encounter. Thankfully, we have some advice for how to make these mechanics a little more manageable. Firstly, the top-down camera angle offers incredible advantages when dodging projectiles that move across the floor of the arena, like both traveling flames and the rolling coins. By moving to a top-down camera angle, you change the problem from a 3D one to a 2D one, making the movement of these projectiles much easier to predict, which makes soft spots much easier to find. Secondly, there are specific movements where these traveling flames are more dangerous. 1. During the CC immune coin and bomb ads. 2. During the 30 seconds that follow the deaths of the flame and bomb ads, which shoot out traveling flames. 3. During the group stack in darkness and power ward barrier for flame and coin. 4. During any premium currency coil between ad sets. 5. During P2 coil baits. At these times especially, you should be moving to a top-down camera angle and vocalizing when there are dangerous traveling flames. This fight is relatively scripted. If everyone is paying attention and ready to alert the team to traveling flames that will come through to the boss or ads, etc., you can save a lot of deaths and wipes. Thirdly, the common strategy is to have your BM Hunter shoot all the coins to both break the ads and refresh the group's high roller buff. It's important that this player or a player watching that player alerts each group when there will be a coin coming their way shortly. For example, when that player shoots a coin at the melee ad, they might say something like melee coin, and the same for ranged. Finally, all ranged players should be thinking shortly before the big hit timer. Think to yourself, where will I go if I get this mechanic, and how am I going to get there? Understanding and adopting this should prevent extremely bad placement. Now let's get into some of the specifics of Phase 1. The boss should always be tanked on a left or right ad that must be killed. The reason for this is to enable good coin baits. Coins from the boss should always be baited towards the purple marker or towards the ranged stack. The boss being on the far ad for coins means that the coins will fall much closer to the group consistently, allowing the hunter to more easily reach them and shoot them while keeping them out of big hit puddles. If we need to kill the left and right ads, the boss should always move to the left ad first. This encourages range to be closer to the left, which is where they want them to place big hits, as well as be pulled less distance by the premium currency coil. If we need to kill a middle ad, the boss should always start on the outside ad. In all scenarios, range should be prioritizing the ad, not on the boss. For coin and bomb, ranged and melee should bait coins, acquire the buff, and then hard commit to the opposite side of the room from the ads, such that the ads stay tightly stacked under the boss. By doing this, you will cause these ads to die extremely fast to cleave, and we heavily recommend emphasizing this movement. If players do not commit, they could die to the falling coins or pull an ad fixating them entirely out of the stack, causing it to die significantly delayed and potentially causing cascading problems. For flame and bomb, players should be focusing down these ads as hard as possible. Allowing them to come under the boss will cause them to take significantly more damage to cleave. Before they die, they should be ring of peace away from the melee to ensure safer traveling flame spawns. If an ad we need to kill spawns near these bombs, this is the most dangerous outcome for melee, and it is extremely important that you emphasize leaving melee range to remain safe from traveling flames if necessary. For the fourth reward set, ranged will need to come into melee for healing and to take advantage of both darkness and power word barrier. This is a very dangerous moment for traveling flames and also coins from the boss, and this should be emphasized. You should remind players that they may use their personal here if necessary. For the fifth reward, we gain a pylon that spawns fixate ads. This pylon should be placed at the front of the room. The first ad set spawns in downtime between ad sets and should die almost instantly to cleave from the boss. This is a potentially dangerous moment for traveling flames moving through the ads and the boss. The second ad set spawns with new reel assistance and the 6 casts of Spin to Win. This set should be controlled by a stun, slowed with Earthbind Totem into a Ring of Peace or Ursul's Vortex. They should be primarily killed by ranged cleave and finished off as the boss is moved from ad to ad. The third ad set spawns as we are phasing the boss, and players should be stacked in front of them to bait the first coil set of P2. Any control here is acceptable, and you should also have an excess of slow or ROPS. These ads will spawn throughout P2, but should die to ranged cleave and should never reach the group. If they do, simply use some CC to prevent explosions. In P2, we should be tightly stacked in front of the boss, moving to the side to place big hit or if targeted by hot heat. We recommend throwing the coins you receive in this phase into the wall or behind the group, as the uptime on high roller will be naturally high without adding on additional mechanic to dodge. Throughout this phase, you'll be dodging traveling flames from the 6th reward pylon on the far right of the arena. As before, it's important that players are vocal when there is danger. Periodically, you will place new pylons that link to the boss. It's important that the boss is kept on the previous pylon, and players bait new pylons as close to the boss as possible to conserve the maximum amount of space. Note that you'll die if you cross the electric links between the boss and the pylons. The second phase has a static duration, so you'll need to make sure you lust early enough that you don't lose duration at the end of the fight. Currently, you are safe around 6:05. 6:10 or later, and you will begin to lose duration. This can change depending on when you enter the second phase. Finally, note that the big hit puddles do not deal much damage themselves, but apply 150% damage taken amp, and it's easy to die in this phase by getting knocked into them and taking some other source of damage. And that's it! We hope you found this guide useful, and if you have any questions, feedback, or comments, feel free to leave them below. Stay tuned for more boss guides covering Liberation of Undermine. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!